गोपीजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरा वनचारी यमुनातीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र श्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस श्री भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शील प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय ग्रंथरा श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय टुगेदर नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 22, entitled The Marriage of Kardam Muni and Devhuti. Text 32. You can repeat behind me. Barhiṣmatīṁ nāma vibhur yam nirviśya samāvasat tasyāṁ praviṣṭo bhavanam tāpa-traya-vināśanam barhiṣmatīṁ nāma vibhur yam nirviśya samāvasat tasyāṁ praviṣṭo bhavanam tāpa-traya-vināśanam yam nirviśya samāvasat tasyāṁ praviṣṭo bhavanam tāpa-traya-vināśanam vibhur samāvasat tasyāṁ praviṣṭo bhavanam tāpa-traya-vināśanam barhiṣmatīṁ nāma vibhur nirviśya samāvasat tasyāṁ praviṣṭo bhavanam tāpa-traya-vināśanam mothers. Barhiṣmatīm nāma vibhur yam nirviśya samāvasat tasyāṁ praviṣṭo bhavanam tāpa-traya-vināśanam. Barhiṣmatīm nāma vibhur yam nirviśya samāvasat tasyāṁ praviṣṭo bhavanam tāpa-traya-vināśanam. Barhiṣmatīṁ, the city Barhiṣmatī. Nāma, named. Vibhuḥ, the very powerful Svāyambhuva Manu. Yam, which. Nirviśya, having entered. Samāvasat, he lived in previously. Tasyāṁ, in that city. Praviṣṭaḥ, entered. Bhavanam, the palace. Tāpa-traya, the threefold miseries. Vināśanam, destroying. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Having entered the city of Barhiṣmatī, in which he had previously lived, Manu entered his palace, which was filled with an atmosphere that eradicated the three miseries of material existence. Purport: the material world or material existential life is filled with threefold miseries. Miseries pertaining to the body and mind, miseries pertaining to natural disturbances, and miseries inflicted by other living entities. Human society is meant to create a spiritual atmosphere by spreading the spirit of Krishna consciousness. The miseries of material existence cannot affect the status of Krishna consciousness. It is not that the miseries of material world completely vanish when one takes to Krishna consciousness. But for one who is Krishna conscious, the miseries of material existence have no effect. We cannot stop the miseries of the material atmosphere, but Krishna consciousness is the antiseptic method to protect us from being affected by the miseries of material existence. For a Krishna conscious person, both living in heaven and living in hell are equal. How Svāyambhuva Manu created an atmosphere wherein he was not affected by material miseries is explained in the following verses. Umagyanatimirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Dapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamahyam Dadati Svopadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpadarubhyasya Kripa Sindhurevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine nirviśya shunyavadi paśyatya deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam, and I seek the blessing of all the assembled devotees, especially the senior devotees, Srila Prabhupada disciples, so that I may speak something inspiring for for all of us. So we just like to read the translation again. Having entered the city of Barhiṣmatī, in which he had previously lived, Manu entered his palace, which was filled with an atmosphere that eradicated the three miseries of material existence. So, this is Prabhupada gives a very beautiful, very profound purport to this. First of all, having entered the city of Barhiṣmatī. So, the province from where Svāyambhuva Manu ruled is called Brahmavart. That's the name of the bigger tract province. And in that Brahmavart province, the city, which is like a capital city in which he had a palace, is Barhiṣmatī. And so he left his capital city, went into the forest with his daughter Devhuti, and he, handed his daughter like Kanyadhan in marriage to Kardam Muni, and then now he's returning back. He's returned back to the city, he's entering the palace, and of course the palace would be very opulent, very gorgeous in so many ways, but something very striking about the palace. We have seen so many wonderful buildings which are of heritage buildings and so on and so forth. There are many glorious things about their architecture, but which building has this quality that there are no three modes of material nature? The miseries due to three modes of material nature are absent in his palace. So this is something very striking, very unique about his palace, and that is in one sense, that is not exactly the not an architectural phenomena. It is the atmosphere of the palace. It is the consciousness in which he lived in the palace, basically, that eradicated the miseries of material existence. So Prabhupada beautifully writes, human society is meant to create such an atmosphere. Human society is meant to create such an atmosphere which is achieved by spreading the spirit of Krishna consciousness. And then Prabhupada further writes, the miseries of material existence cannot affect the status of Krishna consciousness. And he elaborates how the material miseries will remain, but this Krishna consciousness is like an antiseptic method. Or we can see that this material world is a place of infection. We know so many viruses keep spreading here time to time. So material world is a place of so many infections, so many germs. But Krishna consciousness can help us increase our immunity. So Prabhupada has given us the process by which we can increase our immunity and not be affected by the three modes of material nature, or the threefold miseries specifically over here. So that is something very amazing, such a benediction that one can become immune by following the process. By following the process given by Prabhupada, the process recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam, we can become immune to the miseries of material existence. And yes, so I would like to speak upon this particular topic briefly. It's mentioned in the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. that how Srimad Bhagavatam uproots the threefold miseries. Can someone recall? Yes? tāpa-traya-vināśanam. Yes. So dharma parojita kaitavatra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vidyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tāpa-traya-vināśanam. Srimad Bhagavatam completely uproots threefold miseries. And we may say that we have been reading and attending Srimad Bhagavatam classes for quite long. When will that happen? We are not sure. At least we don't experience in our lives. How is that? So tāpa-traya-vināśanam. Again, the understanding is, it's not that the unmūlanam is little meaning is uproots the threefold miseries, completely uproots threefold miseries. But actually here Prabhupada and other several places he describes that Srimad Bhagavatam raises us above the miseries, because the material world remains dukhalayam. This remains the place of misery, but Srimad Bhagavatam raises our consciousness above the material world, above the three modes of material nature, and so that we are not affected by it. We are not affected by it. So it may seem to be something very amazing, or sometime you feel okay, probably this is true, but we don't see any kind of how we can ourselves experience, or where is the proof of all these statements of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that we'll try to briefly discuss. There are several stories describing that how, while the material world remains full of miseries or dukhalayam, one can raise one consciousness above them. There is a beautiful story of a Brahmana in Sri Rangam. He is, we all know the story, I'll not go into the detail of that. So this Brahmana in Sri Rangam, he was instructed by his spiritual master to daily read the 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, and that too in the Sri Rangam temple, in one of the smaller shrines. So, and it's mentioned that yes, daily, very religiously, as the word is used, very religiously, he would come and to the shrine in Sri Rangam temple and daily recite all the 18 chapters. And his pronunciation was quite imperfect. He was not a very learned scholar, is mentioned. Saishatrira Vaishnava Brahman Devalaya Asik Hare Gita Avartan. Daily they would come to the Devalaya and daily recite Bhagavad Gita. It's mentioned Shuddha Shuddha Paden Lok Keha Se Keha Nindeta Nahi Mane. People, when they would see him reciting the Bhagavad Gita, they would laugh at him, they would joke, they would ridicule him. Just imagine if someone is reading Bhagavad Gita very sincerely, and that too, this is happening not in some metropolitan, cosmopolitan city, New York, London, where there is not a Vedic culture. It's like the hub of the Vedic culture. Just imagine. Sri Rangam is a capital city of the Sri Vaishnavas, kind of. There is a hub of Vaishnava culture there, and within that also he is reciting Bhagavad Gita, sitting in the temple, and he is being ridiculed for that. He is being laughed at because his pronunciation is not correct. Shuddha Ushuddha Paden Loka Kare Upahase. He is Shuddha Shuddha. And people are laughing, people are ridiculing. But this person, quite amazing, this person is not affected at all. And Lord Krishna says in 11th canto, he says, where is such a person in this world when you speak some unpleasant word to that person, and who can maintain the equanimity of mind? Where is such a person in this world who can maintain the equanimity of mind when some harsh words are spoken, because the mind is agitated by the harsh words. We all have experience. Someone speaks harsh words, the mind is agitated, and we can't focus on what we are doing, not just for that time, but probably entire day, could be entire week, because that really disturbs us. So it's very difficult, and here is one person who is the least disturbed about it. People are ridiculing him, people are criticizing him, laughing at him, and he is trying to read Bhagavad Gita. Keha se keha ninde taha nahi mane, avishta hayya Gita pade anandita mane. He was absorbed in reading Bhagavad Gita, and because he was experiencing great joy in his reading of Bhagavad Gita, and because he was absorbed in Bhagavad Gita, therefore he was above all the criticism, all the jokes and the laughter and all that was going around him. So when that happened, it's mentioned, yes, Lord Chaitanya would daily visit. It was Chaturmas when he was staying, and he noticed this is very unusual phenomena taking place within the temple of the Lord, that there are people who are laughing, ridiculing at this Brahmana who is reading Bhagavad Gita, but he is not affected. Not just he is not affected, he is experiencing great happiness in his reading. So, Pulaka Shrushveda Kampayavata Pathan Dekhi Anandita Haila Mahaprabhu Man. So Mahaprabhu felt very happy seeing this person's happiness, and that too in a very awkward circumstance, not a normal situation. In a very awkward situation, he was still absorbed and still feeling happiness. And actually this material world remains the awkward place. There are, as we just discussed, this material world remains the place of threefold miseries and so on and so forth. And that will not subside. But we have to find the joy and absorption in Krishna consciousness within the chaos of the material world, as is being described over here. So when Lord Chaitanya saw this phenomena, quite unusual, he became very happy, became quite happy, and he was impelled from within to approach this Brahmana. So of course those who were laughing, ridiculing, they saw he was unaffected, and they left in a short time. So they left, and then Mahaprabhu now inquires from him. He questions. Mahaprabhu puchila tare shun mahashay kon artha jani tomare to sukh hoy. Lord Chaitanya asks, oh great personality Mahashay, which verse are you reading? And which commentary are you referring? You are feeling so blissful. Which verse are you reading, and what is your understanding of the verse? Probably you are referring some commentary, and you are feeling so joyful. Oh wow, such a nice meaning of the verse. So please tell me, please explain, what gives you so much happiness? This Brahmana says, commentary, meaning. He says, I don't understand the meaning. I am quite an illiterate person, or half literate. He was able to read, but it was impure, imperfect. Vipraka he murkhami shabdartha na jani. I practically don't understand the meaning. Shuddha Shuddha Gita padi Guru Agya mani. I am just reading Bhagavad Gita, Shuddha Shuddha, sometime correct, sometime incorrect, because my spiritual master has asked me to do so. And then Lord Chaitanya still says, but what gives you so much happiness? You can't even understand the meaning. And it is well appreciated that you are doing this on the instruction of spiritual master, but still, what brings you so much joy? And then he explains that while I am reading Bhagavad Gita, the Lord Krishna as a Parthasarathi driving the chariot of Arjuna, that photo which we have on the cover page of Bhagavad Gita, that image is projected on the screen of his heart. So he is able to envision on the screen of his heart this beautiful image in the cover page of Bhagavad Gita. And seeing that, he is feeling immense joy. He is feeling immense joy. And he says, as long as I am reading, I see that image. And as I go on reading, the image is becoming clearer and clearer. When I stop, that image goes away. Therefore, I like to read it. I want to read it continuously. What does Lord Chaitanya says? Prabhu kahe Gita pathe tumar adhikar, tumi se jana Gitar artha sar. He says, you alone have understood Bhagavad Gita. Now, in the Sri Rangam, there were many scholars, Sanskrit scholars. But Lord Chaitanya says, Gita pathe tumar adhikar. You alone have the right to read and understand Bhagavad Gita, and no one else, not all these scholars who can perfectly recite and explain Bhagavad Gita, they have not understood Bhagavad Gita. You alone have understood Bhagavad Gita, the illiterate person. So in this way, Lord Chaitanya actually congratulates him. He becomes very happy to see his absorption. So the point we are from this, we can study this pastime from several perspectives, but one perspective is how the criticism and the harsh words could not affect him at all. That's quite unusual in this world. Because why? He was absorbed. He was finding inner joy within the heart, and therefore he was least affected. So therefore, in this age of mass distractions, as we all know, which are continuously increasing, it is so difficult to find absorption, even for a short while. But actually, it is absorption that can help us to maintain the sanity of our mind also. Because, as I said, the atmosphere is so much surcharged with so many different kind of vibrations and so on and so forth, that it's so difficult to maintain even normal condition of mind. The mental problem, the psychological issues, the emotional disturbances, they are at a great rise. So I was talking to one person, and he was sharing that in one of the welfare countries, for the teenagers, there are psychotherapists who give psychological counseling, and the welfare country means there is this service is free for them from the government side. There is a queue for more than 1 year. If you apply today, that my child, if the parents apply, my child, a teenager, needs some kind of psychological counseling, there is a queue of more than 1 year waiting period before you can get an appointment. That gives us the idea of how much this is among the teenagers. So this applies to everyone else. So how much the mental problems are at rise. So therefore, if we can find some absorption, which is not easy, which we have to strive for, then we can counteract, to a good extent we can counteract. We can rise above. When there is some absorption in Krishna consciousness, we can rise above all the chaos of this material world, all the various miseries or disturbances, the agitation and so on and so forth. The same point is also described in the 10th canto, in a beautiful pastime. This is just after the killing of Bakasura. So we know the story of how the Bakasura had suddenly swallowed Krishna, and all the cohort boys saw suddenly he has swallowed Krishna. Krishna is no longer there, and all the cohort boys were just about to faint, and they were themselves about to give up their life. But suddenly then again, Krishna, Bakasura could not digest Krishna, could not even hold him within his throat, and he became so hot, Krishna, and also very bitter, that he had to swallow him out. He had to spit him out. He could not swallow him. And thus, later Krishna killed the Bakasura, and this pastime was narrated by all the cohort boys. They would come back to Vraja, this pastime was narrated. And when all the Brajvasis, they heard this pastime, it's mentioned, Krishna was almost dead, almost killed by this nefarious demon. He has come back to life. So therefore, it created so much, their love for Krishna increased again so much more. We were about to lose him, but again we have gotten him back. So Shukadeva Goswami gives a very beautiful siddhant. He says, Iti nandadayo gopa Krishna Rama katha mudam kurvanto ramamanascha navindan bhavavedanam. In this way, the residents of Vrindavan, iti nandadayo gopa, all the gopas, the gopis, Krishna Rama katha mudam, they would experience the joy of Krishna katha. Krishna Rama katha mudam kurvanto ramamanascha, and their mind would be absorbed and experience great pleasure in hearing those pastimes or in remembering those pastimes. They would compose a song, as Prabhupada tells us, they would compose a song and the poems, and they would continue to sing. The very next pastime after killing Baka addresses Krishna as Bakari. And so therefore the names, many times we see in Bhagavatam, Krishna performs some pastime, and immediately after some time that name of Krishna is used in the pastime. So Kurvanto Ramamanascha, they would compose song, poems, chant and remember Krishna's pastime and experience the joy of Krishna consciousness. Na vindan bhavavedanam, and they would not realize the material tribulations. Na vindan bhavavedanam. There was bhavavedana. Vedana means all the miseries of material existence. Na vindan, but they did not realize it. They were above it. As we are just discussing. So, and again Prabhupada explained, this is the way actually. This is the way to live in this material world. Don't be of this material world. Just like Krishna also prescribes. Padma patram ivam bhasa. While we are in this material world, we have to be slightly above the material world. We have to raise ourselves. Padma patram ivam bhasa. This material world is a muddy place. And we have to raise our consciousness above the muddy waters of this material world. Just like a lotus stands above and is not affected or contaminated by the dirt of this material world. So, Prabhupada further writes in this purport, how Svāyambhuva Manu created an atmosphere. Now his palace has an atmosphere which is free from the tribulations of threefold miseries. How Svāyambhuva Manu created an atmosphere wherein he was not affected by material miseries is explained in the following verses. So I will not go to the following verses because other speakers will speak, but I will slightly touch upon it because in the context of this verse also. The very first thing he did was to daily hear the pastimes of Krishna. Daily heard pastimes of Krishna, as we say Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya. That created, that uplifted him, as we have been discussing. So there is this same point is beautifully describes in the 4th canto, 30th chapter, where the Prachetas, they execute severe austerities following the instruction of their father, following the direction of Lord Shiva, who gave them Rudra Gitam, and then they had a darshan of Lord Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu congratulated them for their mutual friendship in devotional service. And he said, please ask a benediction, I am so pleased with you. By your apratak dharma, sauhridena apratak dharma, tushtoham sauhridena va. Twice Lord Vishnu says, I am pleased by your mutual friendship in devotional service. So please ask a benediction from me. And what the benediction the Prachetas ask? They says, my Lord, we only want to taste the nectar of your lotus, we only want your lotus feet. That's the benediction they ask. We do not want anything else except your lotus feet. Now, we only want a lotus feet in tangible terms, in practical terms, what does that mean? We only want a lotus feet. Should I separate my lotus feet or make just a pair of a lotus feet and give to you? What do you want actually? So then they say actually the nectar of a lotus feet can be obtained by hearing about her pastime through the mouth of her devotees. So therefore, actually what they mean that we only want your lotus feet is we want to hear about your pastimes from the devotees. And that is also described in Srimad Bhagavatam, that the nectar of the Lord's lotus feet is carried by the breeze, is carried by the wind or the breeze, which is described by descriptions by the devotees. When the devotee describes the Lord's pastimes, his qualities and so on, that breeze carries the nectar of the Lord's lotus feet. Ye tu tadiya charanam bhujakosha gandham jigranti karna vivarai shrutivātanitam bhaktya grihita charana paraya cha tasyāṁ naipishināt hridayam buruhat sapumsam. A very beautiful verse. I'll read the translation. O my Lord, persons who smell the aroma of your lotus feet, carried by the air of Vedic sound through the holes of the ears, accept your devotional service. For them, you are never separated from the lotus of their hearts. So, when we taste the nectar of the Lord's lotus feet, which is brought about this breeze of the descriptions of the Lord, breeze of Vedic sound, that establishes the Lord firmly on the lotus-like heart of the devotees. So, that's such a beautiful description. And then the Lord never leaves. So, this is the process to actually taste the nectar of the Lord's lotus feet, which the prachetas desire, which the preta desire. So yes, so the description of the Lord's pastimes carry the nectar of his lotus feet, and we drink that nectar through the ears. Shrutivātanitam. We drink karna vivarai, jigranti karna vivarai. We drink that nectar through the ear holes. And after expressing this desire, they say yes. So therefore, what we want, basically, the pracheta says, we want to hear about you in the association of your devotees. While we wander in the cycle of birth, old age, disease and death, we want to hear about you from the mouth of your devotees. And then they speak a very beautiful verse, that wherever there are descriptions, wherever there are pure and sweet descriptions of the pastime of the Lord, yatredante kathamrishtas trishnaya prashamo yatha nirvairam yatra bhuteshu nudvego yatra kaśṇa. So this is wherever there are pure and sweet pastime of the Lord being described, or whenever we are hearing the pure and the sweet pastime of the Lord, the three things takes place. What is that? Trishnaya prashamo yatha. Trishna, I mean thirst for material existence. So the thirst for material pleasure, material sense pleasure. Trishnaya prashamo yatha. That Trishna, the intense thirst, that is satisfied. One no longer has the thirst. The thirst is quenched for material enjoyment. Second, nirvairam yatra bhuteshu. One becomes free from the enmity or the hatred toward other living entities. And Prabhupada says this material world means envy. Everyone is envious of this in the material world, and therefore there is conflict. And spiritual world means harmony. Just one word to describe. So one is freed from the thirst for material existence. Second is one is freed from the envy or the hatred toward other living entities. Nodvego yatra kaśṇa. And one is freed from the anxieties and the agitations of the mind, which characterize the people, especially in this age of Kali Yuga. When the description is given in Bhagavatam, how will the people of Kali Yuga be? Is mentioned, alpaishu sabhya kalosmin yuge jana mand sumand matayo mand bhagya upadruta. Upadruta means there is constant agitation of the mind, some anxiety or agitation. Is always the mind is under some anxiety or agitation. That is one typical symptom. But when the mind is fixed on the pure and the sweet pastime of the Lord, no dvego, the one will be freed from the anxiety and the agitation of the mind. Not dvego yatra kaśṇa. And then Prabhupada writes about the third point, which is very relevant for all of us in this time and age. Prabhupada says, no agitation or anxiety about this. Vaikuntha means without anxiety, and the material world means full of anxiety. As stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Sada samudvigna dhyam asadgrahat. People who have accepted asadgrahat, the false shelter of the material world, their mind is always udvigna, always agitated. The living entities who have accepted the material world as a residence are full of anxiety. A place, then Prabhupada continues to write, a place immediately becomes Vaikuntha whenever the holy topics of the personality of Godhead are discussed by pure devotees. So in this way, one can become free from the anxiety and the agitation by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, and not just simple hearing, as we discussed, that we have to somehow strive to find some absorption in Srimad Bhagavatam, some joy in the hearing, reading the pastimes of the Lord. So in this particular verse that we just discussed by the Prachetas, they say, when we hear topics of Krishna in the association of devotees, three effects. The thirst for material existence goes away, the hatred towards other living entities goes away, and all the agitation and anxiety goes away. So just to remember, Katha is, as we know, Krishna Katha, the topics of the Lord, Katha. So we hear about Krishna in the association, and the thirst will go away, the hatred will go away, and all the anxiety and the agitation will go away. So for us to just remember the three effects of hearing Krishna Katha as described by the Prachetas. So I'll just conclude this and then open it for comments, questions. Reading from the Purport once again. We cannot stop the miseries of material atmosphere, but Krishna consciousness is the antiseptic method to protect us from being affected by the miseries of material existence. For a Krishna conscious person, both living in heaven and living in hell are equal. Just imagine this statement. So therefore, to the degree we find absorption and joy in hearing, chanting, remembering Krishna, to that degree we will rise above the material world, above the agitation and the anxieties, the hatred, the thirst for material enjoyment, and to that degree we will rise above, and to that degree we will not be affected by the threefold miseries of material existence. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I would like to invite comments by the senior devotees, and yes, His Grace Rameshwar Prabhu. You have the mic? Here is the mic.
Prabhuji, thank you for that class. Hare Krishna. I must confess that when we read about devotees wanting the lotus feet of Krishna in Vrindavan, since I'm not a resident of Vrindavan, I'm trying to understand, what is that feeling? What does that mean? Because in the material sense, when I think of being attached to someone's feet, it sounds like a very, I don't know, Shantaras maybe? I don't know what kind of rasa that would be for those resident, those pure souls in their spiritual bodies. But what I can try to think of, to relate it to, is being attached to the lotus feet of one's spiritual master. Now, what does that mean? It doesn't mean, again, Shantaras. To me, it means the spiritual master's feet are always moving to give Krishna consciousness to the whole world. And being attached to those lotus feet means I'm trying to follow my guru's feet as he does that. So that's the only way I can relate to being attached to lotus feet. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Actually, being attached to lotus feet means dasyaras. Prabhupada says the devotees are always situated at the Lord's lotus feet, the mood of servitude. Yeah, that is the dasyaras. But as you perfectly, echoed the sentiment which shows your attachment to Srila Prabhupada, following the footsteps, being attached to Prabhupada's lotus feet would mean follow his footsteps and preach Krishna consciousness throughout the world. Give this the most the rarest of all benedictions of Krishna consciousness. Share it with everyone following in the footsteps of Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhu, for that beautiful meditation. Hare Krishna. Yes, is there some other comment, question? This side.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I wanted to ask, what is the relationship between tāpa-traya, which is disturbances by body, mind, other living entities and deities, and three gunas of material nature? Because you mentioned that this palace was free from both three gunas and tāpa-traya.
Yes. So, these are the threefold miseries in material existence. And material existence, we know the material energy of the Lord is gunmayi. It is composed of the three gunas. The gunas, I just briefly elaborate. The gunas means the ropes, and the guna also mean the qualities. So in this material world, we are bound by these three modes, like their ropes. We are bound. What does it mean we are bound? It means we are forced to act as per the qualities of material gunas that we have acquired in association. So we acquire the qualities of our association, basically, as simple as that. Whomever we associate with, we gain qualities of that. So in our association with the material energy, which is composed of three gunas, we are conditioned, or we are being forced to act as per the qualities of the three gunas. And that is the cause of the threefold miseries. Right? Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the class. Regarding this pastime, you mentioned in Srirangam, Prabhuji,
yes.
This Brahmana who was not affected by the ridicules and all this criticism, because he was fixed in the following instruction of his spiritual master.
Also, he was experiencing joy in his absorption.
Yes. So similar parallel we can see in the life of Prabhupada when he started his preaching work around the world. So many people tried to discourage him, criticize him, but he was fixed in the following of instruction of his spiritual master.
Yes.
And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed his mercy, and then things happened.
Yes, right. Good. Thank you for sharing that reflection, Prabhupada. Actually, we may not experience that joy and absorption immediately, but if we are steadfast in following the instruction of spiritual master, by his mercy, there is automatic. Actually, it's not that sometime we may think, do the spiritual master know that I am following his instructions? How will he get to know? The Paramatma connects us actually. So when we actually sincerely follow the instruction of spiritual master, then Paramatma is the link, and by receiving the mercy of spiritual master, then we can experience also the absorption and the joy. But yeah, you rightly said that how Prabhupada. So therefore, we should not be concerned about our own happiness or distress, but the focus can be, if we follow the instruction of spiritual master, then we are surely acting above the three modes of material nature. This is also a very beautiful point. Prabhupada says, now we, in our own capacity, we may not be above the three modes of material nature, but when we follow the instruction, we are situated above the three modes of material nature. How is that? Prabhupada himself explains. He says, just like there is an expert technician and there is a new technician who has just joined. When the new technician moves his hand or the tools, under the direction of expert, then he is acting expertly. Acting expertly, the same effect. Similarly, we may not be above the three modes of material nature, but when we act as per the instruction of the spiritual master, we are situated during that time when we are acting above the three modes of material nature. Right? So that's how we transcend for that. And if we continue to act, we continue to transcend the three modes of material nature. So like that. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Damodar Prabhu, for class. I was wondering if you could, two things. One, reiterate the glories of reading Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of devotees. And when you mentioned that, it made me wonder, what is the difference between reading Bhagavatam in the association of devotees and reading Bhagavatam on your own? And if the results and the effects are the same.
Okay, good point, good question. Reading Bhagavatam in the association of devotees versus reading Bhagavatam alone. The word association, basically Krishna says also madchitta madgata prana bodhyanta parasparam kathyantascha mam nityam tushyanti charamanti cha. So when my devotees parasparam, it's mutual, when they are discussing my topics with each other, when they are sharing their realization with each other, then what happens is their understanding is enhanced, and their joy, when they share the realization with each other, their joy also expands. So therefore, now it may not always be possible to, that whenever I want to read, I must call somebody and find somebody out. I want to read Bhagavatam, someone who is available, put in the group. It may not be possible. So basically, but we have that mood that I want to hear and share realization of Bhagavatam. If we have that mood and then we are reading alone, we get some point and we share with others and we hear from others whenever there is opportunity. So yes, we can read Bhagavatam whenever we have time, as much as possible on our own also. That's absolutely very beneficial. But that, as I said, our understanding, our joy will be enhanced when we find a forum where we can exchange, what we have read, studied and hear from others. So in this way, it will further, tushyanti cha ramanti cha, the inner satisfaction, joy will further increase. So therefore, to the extent, of course, we should also see that when we are studying Bhagavatam, we are reading Prabhupada's purports, and Prabhupada is speaking to us, so we are getting his association also. Right? So, and in the further association of devotees, it will be even more joyful. So the whole point is that alone, if someone is trying to read, that person may be having a wrong understanding, or may just totally be deviating from the main point. But the forum which Prabhupada has given us, the system and the structure he has given us, is we can have the right understanding guided by his purports, and the realization being shared by devotees, and thus we can gain maximum in our reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Yes, Rameshwar Prabhu.
Thank you again. When I first read this text and the ones that are coming up, at first I thought, this is inconceivable to our minds. We cannot grasp that an atmosphere is so potent that you don't feel any of the threefold miseries. So when I was thinking about this, it's not just like some mystical, magical experience. You go into that atmosphere and suddenly you don't feel anything anymore from the material energy. It must have to do with the devotee in that atmosphere. What is his desire? What is he absorbing himself in order to get the benefit of that atmosphere and rise above the modes, not just the modes, but to rise above threefold miseries. It's not just the atmosphere alone, but what we do and think and desire in such an atmosphere that enables us gradually to not feel material pangs. But it's inconceivable to our minds if we're still in the bodily concepts.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for sharing that reflection. So we'll end over here. It's already almost 9. Jai Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hare